I had major range anxiety, because what actually happened on my way back to the airport was I actually ran out of range. Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to Stef ABtv. In today's video, we are up here in Scotland, around the roads of the North Coast 500 with the brand new Audi RS E-Tron GT. In this video, I'm going to take you out for a little bit of a drive, give you my review and thoughts on this car. So let's jump in the motor and let's get going. So then, when it comes to views, I think Scotland is definitely up there with some of the best. Like genuinely, I'm looking around this place and I'm thinking to myself, I'm actually like in Europe. The roads are so good, particularly around these kind of North Coast 500 routes. And that gives you a bit of a chance before we start to tackle some of the busier roads, if you like, just to kind of talk you through how this car feels. Because it's a lot of money for this car. It's £135,000 for this RS E-Tron GT. This one specifically is in a beautiful Mythos black, and I really love it because this is actually a carbon Vorsprung edition, which means you get the carbon air intakes on the front grills, you get the carbon wing mirrors, you get the carbon rear diffuser, and of course you get the carbon roof. Now the interesting thing is that on this specific car, what it doesn't have the RS design seats, so you know, the red stitching that you get inside here and kind of the vent surrounds. It doesn't have that because this is an early press car. So that's the only reason it doesn't have it. It also doesn't have the red calipers, which you would get standard in the Vorsprung edition cars. Now, in terms of performance, what do we get? Well, we have a 598 PS or a 440 kilowatt hour battery in this, which produces a 0 to 62 time of 3.6 seconds. However, in the boost mode, it produces 650 PS and will deliver a 0 to 62 miles per hour time in 3.3 seconds. Flipping hell, that's quick. The RS E-Tron GT is powered by a dual motor, so it's a 2-speed motor, and yeah, I mean, look, to drive this thing, I'm driving it right now in kind of comfort efficiency mode around these beautiful roads, and I can tell you it feels great. It feels very, very premium, which is what you'd expect from Audi. When you start to take a look at these interiors, I mean, this car with, of course, the kind of the Vorsprung edition, the carbon Vorsprung, we've got beautiful carbon fiber here on the inside. We've got piano black insides here with the kind of E-Tron logo slap bang in the center. We've got great Napa leather seats, Alcantara headliner across the whole of the car. It literally is just a very elegant and lovely, lovely cabin to sit in as a driver and as a passenger, both front and rear, because you get really comfortable seats in the rear as well. Up front here, I do have the kind of half flat bottom steering wheel, leather, with loads of funky buttons, including heated seats, cooled seats. I've also got paddles up here, which is interesting, and it's not to change from first to second gear from the dual motor. It's actually to play around with a regenerative charging. So if you want to be a bit more aggressive with your regen, you just kind of flick it down, and you'll feel the brakes kind of working and doing their thing a bit earlier than if you had it completely off. The other thing that I like about this, you get a nice heated steering wheel, plenty of piano black in here, which is a magnet for fingerprints, so it's going to be quite tough to kind of keep this clean. The styling on this car, I think, is beautiful. It's very elegant. It's not kind of crazy sharp lines. The reason for that is it needs to stay sharp. It needs to stay pretty fluid in its design, because that reduces drag. And if you reduce drag, then you increase your range. So, oh, look at these views! Wow. I've never done the North Coast 500, but I'm very glad that I've been invited on this trip to drive this brilliant car out here, because I could just soak up these views for days. It is stunning, stunning out here. I guess it's time to crack on a bit and find a bit of road and see what this thing feels like from a handling and a driver's perspective. Because as a day-to-day driver, this is brilliant. You know, you can cruise in this. You don't have to be, you know, on it 24/7. You can just casually cruise in efficiency. And actually, it's a really good point. Someone in my last video said, you know, it's great to see the performance part of a car, but what's it like just kind of poodling around? And it's what I'm doing now. It's brilliant, really good. The suspension is very compliant. It's very kind of adaptive, so it kind of absorbs a lot of the bumps. But when you put in dynamic, it does stiffen up a bit. It lowers its ride height as well to kind of give you that a bit more lower center of gravity and gives you a bit more balance when you're throwing the car around the corners. But just as a day-to-day cruiser, I could do miles in this. I could do miles, and that's what it is. It's a GT car, isn't it? With supercar performance. Okay, we found some national speed. I can see snow up ahead there in the mountain, but I think the first thing we'll do, we'll give it a launch so you guys can see what the launch is. I'm not going to do a full launch, just a kind of basic launch. So let's do 0 to 60. Here we go. Flipping out, that was more than 60. In fact, you could even hear that second gear engage. That actually felt quite nice. So we know it's fast. We'd expect that from a 600 PS motor, but does it handle well? You know, it's 2.3 tons. What's it like around the twisties? Well, let's find out. Because one of the things that these big heavy cars do is that they might accelerate well, but when that weight transfer takes place, it means it becomes quite difficult to drive them properly, and you do end up with a whole load of understeer. But I can tell you already, there isn't much roll on this, and actually I think one of the big reasons as to why this car will perform so well is because of how large the wheels are. So we've got 20-inch wheels on this. They're 9Js at the front, 11Js at the rear. So you do have a lot of surface kind of contact between the tyre and the tarmac. Now, in terms of kind of its handling and how it feels sturdy. It does feel sturdy. I mean, it is a heavy car, but it's doing a very good job at hiding its weight. In fact, I really like it. It's doing a really good job. The brakes, very solid brakes as my camera goes flying. Poor camera. Very, very solid brakes. The steering feels good as well in dynamic mode. It's not too heavy, but not too light. I think they found the right balance on this car. Here we go. Here's a test round here, coming around a corner. Oh, that's planted. That is really planted. That's testament to how well the suspension is set up on this. Well, I'm quite impressed with this. Over the crest. Yeah, okay. This is a very good car, guys. I'm actually really impressed at how well this handles. I knew the Taycan would handle well because I drove that. And actually they are similar platforms, so I should expect that. And actually for a £135,000 car, I would be disappointed if Audi didn't deliver a car that handled well. But I'm more impressed at how well it feels. You know, there is no roll at all. You can really throw it around. Look, we've got a couple of nice little left-hand and right-handers here. Look at this, coming around the corner. Not a hint of understeer. You know, we're pushing on 60 mile an hour around here. We like this. We like this a lot. Come around this corner, more technical. Nice. And the beauty with this car, you know, yes, it's not combustion engine, but you have instant torque. Oh, look at that. You have instant torque out of every corner, so you know, you don't have to really be crazy on the throttle as you come out of the corners. You just kind of bleed it in. You get all that power unleashed as we're coming around here. Beautiful lakes here on the right hand side. What a view and what an experience. And yeah, I mean, you can really feel this, the four-wheel steer helping it. Look at that. Well done, Audi. The RS E-Tron GT, I'm impressed with. Very impressed. Okay, so we know it drives well. That's an important thing. I'm actually really impressed with that. Like, genuinely, really, really impressed with that. The fact that it wasn't a combustion engine and the fact that I wasn't changing gears or anything like that actually didn't bother me. It didn't bother me because it felt like an engaging drive. It felt good. I got the EV sound, you know, that woo noise. You know, the steering felt good. The power's on tap. And that's the thing. That's the compromise, isn't it? You know, you've got the power. Might not have the full sound, but I guess you don't need to let the car warm up every day, don't you? Which is a good thing. Right, let's talk about charge cycles. So, the RS E-Tron GT, it will do, acclaimed by Audi, 293 miles from a charge. I currently have 173 left and I've driven 30 miles. I picked this car up with 200 miles on the clock, so slightly under, I think, what Audi claim it is. That whatever they've measured that on, it's probably on a road or that's downhill or something. But anyway, real world, about 200 miles worth of charge, let's be honest. In terms of the charging itself, so using a super rapid charger, we can get, with a 5-minute charge, we can get 62 miles worth of range, which is good. 5 minutes on a supercharger is good. The only challenge with superchargers is that they're not all over the place yet. And I know that there's a lot of talk with the Ionity chargers getting, you know, broader, and they will over time. And eventually, if Tesla allow other people to use their supercharger stations in the form of an adapter, then you're laughing. That also equates to a 5% to 80% charge in just 23 minutes. So, you know, if you think about it, when you're doing an actual trip, You always, I mean, I don't know about you, but whenever I'm stopping at services, I will stop for a minimum of 20 minutes. You know, I want to go to the bathroom, I want to get something to eat. At that point, I've got 80% of my charge back. When you start to go into like a wall pin mount at home, it's going to take a lot longer, which is why I think I'd recommend investing in one of those zappy wall charger things. It just helps speed up the process. So as it starts to rain here in Scotland, well, it wouldn't be Scotland without rain, would it? I guess what are my final thoughts? Now, I think that this is a very, very good car if you want it as an all-round package. You know, if you want that luxury, that style and substance, it's very, very nice. It handles great, it looks beautiful. The interior is probably one of the nicest interiors that I've been in an Audi, and actually when I start to think about the competition, I don't really think there is any in terms of the looks interior of this car. Exterior styling is beautiful as well, it looks great, really, really nice, very, very elegant. I do like that a lot about this car. What about performance? Look, there's no doubt that performance on this car is good, but it is good as a competition for the price point. Let's take an example. If you're going to take the equivalent money, so this is, I think this car's at 135,000. If you spec in the design packs, probably about 137k, give and take. Now you look at a Tesla Model S Plaid Plus, which is 140k, I believe. And from a performance perspective alone, ignore the fact of the interior, because I know what's a Tesla Model S, Plaids, etc. They've got a refresh coming, they look cool. You've got this very weird Star Trek steering wheel on that car. But performance alone, the Plaid Plus will give you 500 odd miles worth of range versus the 290 acclaimed on this. The Plaid Plus will give you 0 to 62 miles per hour in 1.9 seconds versus the 3.3 this on overboost. You know, this is the challenge, isn't it? It's, if you're only looking at this car for performance, don't get it. I would wait for something like a Plaid Model S, because that will blow your mind. I mean, this is quick, very, very quick, but a Plaid Model S would just be bonkers. If you're looking at the all-round car, I would get one of these. Genuinely, I think this is stunning.
Okay, so I didn't specifically film this in the video, and there's a reason for that. One, I had major range anxiety, because what actually happened on my way back to the airport was I actually ran out of range. Now, I got to the airport with 0 miles of range left. Now, 5 miles prior to arriving at the airport, I hit 0. I managed to get 4 miles worth of range before the car went into limp mode for the last 1 mile. Now, when the car went into limp mode, I effectively was crawling at 5 miles an hour back to the airport, which thankfully I was on some quiet roads. But if this was to happen to you when you're on a dual carriageway, well, it could be quite scary. The important thing is to understand that actually, whilst this car or any EV will claim that it has 600 brake horsepower, it will never always have 600 brake horsepower. Now, on the left hand side of the dash, you'll see there's a green bar which gives you the amount of power that's available versus the battery life that's left. So on a full charge, you can punch it and get 100% of the power, which equally is around 600 PS. But as time goes on and you start to drive the car longer, that power availability starts to drop. Now, on something like a combustion engine car, you're allowed to drive 100% of your power until you literally run out of petrol. On an EV, because of how the battery protects itself, you never get 100% of that power. And I think it's something really important that isn't discussed enough that you guys should be aware of.
Range is still an issue, and the infrastructure for charging these things is also an issue. So I'm not going to chance it. I'll poodle home. But my overall thoughts and summary on this, on the RS E-Tron GT, I really, really like it. It's a lot of money, but it's also a lot of car.